Were you born in Mexico, in Mexico City?
Oh
Right.
yes, it was
Okay.
very Mexico City.
Okay.
I'm what it's called a true chilango.
Do you like living here in
I
Mexico
love living
City?
here. Yes,
Yes.
I do love living
Okay.
here.
What in Mexico was like 20, 30 years ago, and how it was changed?
Okay, that's why we love it so much. It was so bad. It was a dictatorship. That's what it happened. It was like a transparent dictatorship because the elections were rigged. So we had the same party for like 50 something years and they controlled everything in the country. Back in the day in the 80s when I was a kid, there was like no hope for this country. It was like this is the shithole where you're gonna grow and this is it and nothing will happen. You know, and as the borders were closed, we had like no influences from the outside. We started to travel a lot. And our biggest influence was the States, of course. And my family, we were fond of going more to California.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough to live in California at a very young age and go to Europe and stuff like that. So when we came back to Mexico City, we saw the possibilities. And we started to see, look, this little corner looks like Paris. Why don't we just put like the tables in the sidewalk? Back in the day, it was like, that's for poor people. How are you gonna eat on the street? Well, we started to use the roofs. You know, the maids used to live up there and we started to use the terraces and then we started to do like art expos and parties and we started to bring all the external influences. And then my generation started to live. And when we all came back, we just got together and we started to make like these movies and this music and the arts and everything, and it seems that everything started to change. And one of the last presidents from the PRI, which that was the party that was running the country for many years, they knew that this was like over. You know, this new generation was very strong, so we kind of created like a cultural revolution. So they did like a treaty with the United States where now the borders were open. And that's how it works now. We can get anything from anywhere from the world, and this is where all the expansion happened. We were very strong on the idea that we wanted to change the country. We never thought it was going to happen. That's the truth. You know, it was like, you know, right now you go and whatever. We have Tom Cruise, you know, opening a movie here yesterday. You know, that was impossible. You know.
Do you believe Mexico has a great future?
Yes. And I'll tell you why, because our richness, most of it comes from natural resources. This country has everything that you need to survive. It has water, it has gas, it has lithium, it has food, you know. When people think about, oh, Mexico, it's like a starving country, you have to come around and see how mangoes grow up in the trees and avocados, and people live near to a river and you can fish and the oceans and everything. So we will survive, that's for sure.
How do you feel about white people? I often heard gringo everywhere. What do you mean the word of gringo?
Okay.
Is it a white person or American person?
Okay, this is the thing. For Mexicans, color and races, we don't give a fuck at all, you know? Some people, you know, very old, school kind of thing, they go like, oh, whites again, and this is moreno. The truth is that we embrace the culture so hard that, for example, we have a symbiosis, is that how you call it, between all the social classes. We need each other and we grew up together. Gringo comes, well, they say this North American, United States invasions to Mexico. There's many theories if the uniform was green and the only things Mexicans knew was like green, go, you know, and that's where it comes from. There's like many stories about it. We don't know for certain, nobody knows, like most of the Mexican history. But you call this says like gringo, or you call güera, or you call whatever, but we don't care because this is such a rich country that we're an absolute mix of everything.
I know you studied and lived in the US and had a change to stay there.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Mexico?
Well, I lived in the States many times. The first time when I was a kid, I did not want to come back to Mexico City. I was living in a very cool place in California and, you know, I love the place. So we came back, and the country was still very shitty. So the difference was very, very polarized, and it was very extreme. So when I came back, I was like, I don't want to be here. I felt uncomfortable. But then I grew up and I started to live in many places. The very, very last time I was in Los Angeles, and I had like this publicist and a manager and a team that they were working on my career. And it was a very specific moment for Mexican cinema. And I had to choose if I stayed in LA or come to Mexico, because the Mexican movie industry was booming. And my publicist, he's a very bright guy, he told me, look, you can always come back and forth, we're very close. But he told me, LA will always be LA and will always be here. But what's happening in Mexico City right now with the film industry, it has happened only a few times. He told me it happened in Italy with the Cinecittà, with the French with the New Wave cinema, with the American industry in the 70s, and right now, he told me Korea and Mexico. So, if you really want to live the legend and be part of a movement when something very interesting is happening in the industry, make a choice. So I was called in Mexico to make like pilots and movies and everything. So I came, and that was exactly what was happening. It was when all the Mexicans started to win in Cannes and the Oscars and Berlin and everything. So I kind of, embraced the moment, and that's why I decided to stay here.
What is your favorite place in Mexico, in the country Mexico?
Country?
Yeah.
I can't say because it's a secret place, and I want to keep it secret. But the Maya Rivera has the kind of water and beaches that I like, which is pretty much like white sand and turquoise water. That's like my paradise. So any of those places, that would be perfect. I could consider that's my favorite place.
What is your favorite place in the Mexico City?
In Mexico City?
Yeah.
I guess my hood. Yeah, where I move right around, Colonia Roma, Condesa, Juarez. That's because I told you, that's when we started to embrace the idea that this could happen. And of course, the architecture was amazing since the beginning, because it's been here for like more than 100 years, like this place. And it had all this culture, all this history.
What do you like the most about Mexico? Maybe people, food, architecture, something else?
Well, it's a combo, because as I told you, nature is amazing. The culture, it's so rich that I love the culture. I love to brag. There's like, you see, we did this and that and the other, and you just show them a pyramid, it's like, yeah, look at this. This is what we were doing a long time ago, it's like, and, like, it's a very, very cool culture, Yes. And because of such a chaotic culture, it's very difficult to explain, because in one end, we're super tough, and we resist everything. We're very dangerous, and we're super aggressive and stuff like that. And on the other hand, people are super nice.
Yes.
You can meet like a sicario, and he's also the nicest guy ever. He's super cool and nice and everything. And then he's going to work, so it's like, he's a fucking psycho, but he's also very nice and polite. And he's like, yeah, you can take my place. It's like, but people usually are very kind.
Yes,
we have to become very nice. Yeah. Because if we didn't, we would be killing each other. It happened. Back in the 80s, everybody was like super aggressive and everything, and very furious and very hungry. And then now it's like, well, we knew that was not the way. So now it's easier to just go, you're in a hurry, go, You need this, do it, just go for it,
Tell me about Mexican women. I've heard they can be very jealous. Is it true?
Not jealous. They're very intense, very Latino. What you see in the soap operas, is not like exaggerated, because it's a very passionate culture.
Okay.
But like everybody, like everywhere else, there's like many type of Mexican type of woman. They are very expressive, so you know it's very normal to see a woman like screaming or crying, or because it's a very passionate place, and they feel love very deep and very strong, and stuff like that, and they can be jealous, I guess, yeah, but like the difference, they are as jealous as anywhere else, but they will express it.
Is it true that Mexican men are very affectionate and don't mind it cheating?
Okay, those are like two questions. They're very, oh, yeah, we are very, because we're very, yeah, we're very passionate, you know. I mean, when we care about somebody, we do care about somebody, you know, and the thing is that we attach a lot. You know, when somebody becomes important, we are very attached to that person. It becomes very important. That's why sometimes we are more jealous or more intense, or you call or whatever. So yeah. And the other question is, it depends. Culturally, back in the day, there's like this macho stereotype of the guy that had like the many women and stuff like that. But the funny thing is that lately, the most loyal men that I've seen and the most present fathers with their kids that I've seen, they're Mexican. You know, all of a sudden Mexican fathers became like this thing, you know, they're like with the kids all the time, they're raising the kids strongly. Pretty much the mothers are doing something else and they're taking care of the family with their own hands. And I guess there's like everything. Somebody would be unfaithful, somebody not, you know, it's like very personal the situation.
Do you know what the average salary in Mexico?
Well, we have the minimum wage, which is very low. I think it's like 6,000 pesos a month or something, which is like $300. I think it's like 15 pesos an hour. Usually, nobody lives with that wage because Mexicans are very good at making money. They sell everything. You know, everybody's like selling something. It's part of our culture too. You know, I make movies, but I also sell a zillion things. You know, I can sell a car and I can sell real estate, you know, Bitcoin. It's part of the culture too. It was part of the survival thing. So people are very good at making money. And nobody actually lives under the minimum wage because we have social security. And usually people get like tipped if that's the kind of work they do. But I can tell you that maybe just one single person that takes care of a family, they would be living with like $500. And it is possible to live with $500 in Mexico. This is one of those countries that I'm telling you, if you know how to do it, you can live with like nothing, you know? I mean, there's a zillion ways of not wasting money because the system is designed, well, it was not designed, it was generated by the people that way. So it's not like the States that, you know, you get charged for breathing. Every time that you step out of your house, you have to spend money. And if you stay in your house, you spend money too, you know. Here, you can spend a few days without spending any money if you know how to do it. And where to buy and what to do and what to say and all that stuff. So,
why are people here so happy, even though many don't have a lot of money?
yeah.
Why?
Well, some people say it's the weather. It is not. I think, first of all, Mexicans learn how to be very happy with very little. You know?
Why?
Because we grew up in a crisis.
Okay.
So if you're a kid that had like a shoe box to play with, and that was like your car and your truck and everything, when you got like a little soccer ball that was like fucking gold. So that was like enough to be super happy for the rest of the month. But the truth is that, you know, it was so critic that right now that we look around and we say, well, if I want an iPhone, I can go and get it. And if I want a bike, I can go get it. You know, that makes you happy because we're getting what you want most of the time. You know, it's like, I want to go to a restaurant, there it is. You know, it's not like, and Mexico's not very elitist on where you can eat or not, you know. We even make fun when they say like, this is like a VIP thing, and we're like, yeah, right. It's like, nobody cares. You know, if they do care, it's a very type of Mexicans that I guess they're evolving or something. So that's how we became very happy with very little. We have a country that we never thought that we were gonna have. There's like a movie that you can see on Netflix. It was like a comedy from the 80s. Then they were very Mexican. and they used a lot of innuendo. You know what innuendo is? When the word has double meaning. So it's one of those movies. But they were saying like, oh, this is Mexico in the future, 2005. And we have like, and everything that they were making fun of because it was impossible, now it's real. They even make the joke. They said, oh, we're winning, our films are winning in the Cannes Film Festival. Oh, they were making fun of it. And then it happened. So I guess people are very happy with what's happening.
Okay, one question I get asked all of the time in my social media. Is it real that danger is here, and is it scary to walk outside?
Well, yes and no. First of all, as everywhere else, it all depends on the area that you're walking. That's very important. And of course, it's a country that anything can happen at any second. But usually it's not dangerous. So, as everywhere else, I remember somebody walking in a park. I think it was Denmark or something. Said, don't walk into the park at night. It's dangerous. Well, every park at night, everywhere in the world is dangerous. You know, you don't walk in a park at night anywhere.
I'm a white person.
Yeah.
Look like a very gringo.
Yeah.
And I'm walking outside, and it's happened nothing with me. Yes.
No, it's very difficult, and mostly, as I told you, Mexicans evolved so much that Mexico City people, not the people from Cancun and all that stuff, but people from Mexico City learned that people that come from the outside are very, very important. So they kind of become a little bit like untouchables. It's like don't get the gringa, get the other guy, you know, because the gringa, you know, she will go back to her country, stuff, shit like that, and you know, so pretty much if they have the choice, they will go for somebody that is more like them. And if you go to a very deep, dangerous place in the city, the same people will tell you, oh, gringa, I think you're confused. You shouldn't be here, you know. I guess you're in the wrong neighborhood, you know. They will tell you how to get out. Yeah.
What is your favorite dream?
Some entrepreneur would say like, oh, he's totally lost at sea, you know, he doesn't know what he wants. Well, I don't want to sound obnoxious or arrogant, but pretty much I think I made my dream come true a long time ago. So I'm pretty satisfied when it happened.
Maybe do you have another one?
I am more curious about where will all this end, you know? If this keeps on growing, where is this, what's going to happen with this? Whatever my goal was, I had it at a very young age, like in my 20s. So, and my other goal was that we could make the movies that we want to make, and now technology made that possible. So I am living a dream. If you think that I have a camera, you know, that it shoots like 35 millimeters, which it was like one of my dreams, with very low light, you know, and I can edit in a laptop. So for me, that was like a dream. You know, like I wish I could have like all this infrastructure to make my movies and tell my stories, and that already happened. Everything else would be more like ego, you know. If I tell you, oh, I wish I could win like a Palme d'Or or an Oscar, whatever. I guess everyone wants to be recognized and get an award or something, get better opportunities. But I think that would be 100% egoistic, to be honest.